the South China Sea, we have seen dangerous encounters between vessels at sea and provocative actions to advance unlawful maritime claims.
The United States has been stirring up trouble out of nothing, arbitrarily sending advanced military vessels and aircraft into the South China Sea as provocations.
Conflict in the South China Sea or in any ocean would have serious global consequences.
The Security Council is not the right place to discuss the issue of South China Sea.
That's why I'm grateful for India's leadership in bringing us together today. The international community has long benefited from a rules-based maritime order, where international law, as reflected in the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, sets out the legal framework for all activities in the ocean and seas. But despite having a clear body of international law that we've all committed to abide by and uphold, despite all the ways that freedom of the seas, open waterways, and the unimpeded flow of lawful maritime commerce have delivered for nations and people around the world, and despite the indispensable role this maritime order has played in fostering economic activity, security cooperation, scientific innovation, environmental sustainability, despite all of that, the order is under serious threat. That's why I'm grateful for India's leadership in bringing us together today and calling on all nations to recommit to defending and strengthening the maritime rules and principles that we forged together and committed to uphold. Let me just speak, if I could, specifically to some of the critical areas where we see maritime rules and principles under threat. In the South China Sea, we have seen dangerous encounters between vessels at sea and provocative actions to advance unlawful maritime claims. The United States has made clear its concerns regarding actions that intimidate and bully other states from lawfully accessing their maritime resources. And we and other countries, including South China Sea claimants, have protested such behavior and unlawful maritime claims in the South China Sea. 5 years ago, an arbitrable tribunal constituted under the 1982 Law of the Sea Convention delivered a unanimous and legally binding decision to the parties before it, firmly rejecting unlawful, expansive South China Sea maritime claims as being inconsistent with international law. The United States has consistently called for all countries to conform their maritime claims to the international law of the sea as reflected in the 1982 Convention. This is in keeping with the peaceful resolution of disputes and the sovereign equality of member states, which are core principles enshrined in the United Nations Charter. Efforts to resolve maritime disputes through threat or use of force flout these principles. Some may assert that resolving the dispute in the South China Sea is not the business of the United States or any other country that is not a claimant to the islands and waters. But it is the business, and even more the responsibility, of every member state to defend the rules that we've all agreed to follow and peacefully resolve maritime disputes. Conflict in the South China Sea or in any ocean would have serious global consequences for security and for commerce. What's more, when a state faces no consequences for ignoring these rules, it fuels greater impunity and instability everywhere.
The blue planet, humans inhabit is not divided into islands by the oceans, but is connected by the oceans to form a community with a shared future. The peace and tranquility of the ocean is important for the common security of all countries and requires the joint efforts by all. At present, a few countries are pursuing exclusive regional strategies in the Asia-Pacific region in an attempt to create and intensify maritime conflicts, undermine the sovereignty and security interests of relevant countries, and weaken regional peace and stability. This runs counter to the aspirations of most countries in the region to seek peace, cooperation, and development. Maritime security cooperation should follow the international law, conventions widely accepted by the international Convention should such as the United Nations Convention by the United Nations Convention of Crime,
and those conventions that are accepted by the international community, which constitute the basis of international law for combating transnational crimes at sea and strengthening maritime security cooperation. All countries should interpret and apply relevant international conventions in good faith in a complete and accurate manner in order to jointly safeguard the authority and effectiveness of relevant international conventions and the international maritime order based on international law. In an active effort to implement the Belt and Road Initiative, China is committed to jointly building a smooth, safe, and efficient maritime channel and promotes the establishment of a maritime cooperation platform for common development.
The Security Council is not the right place to discuss the issue of South China Sea. The United States just mentioned that South China Sea issue, and China firmly opposes this act. At present, with the joint efforts of China and ASEAN countries, the situation in the South China Sea remains generally stable. All countries enjoy freedom of navigation and overflight in accordance with international law. China and ASEAN countries are committed to fully and effectively implementing the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea and strive to reach the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea at an earlier date. We are determined and able to maintain peace and stability in the South China Sea. The United States itself is not qualified to make irresponsible remarks on the issue of South China Sea. The United States has been stirring up trouble out of nothing, arbitrarily sending advanced military vessels and aircraft into the South China Sea as provocations and publicly trying to drive a wedge into regional countries, especially countries concerned. This country itself has become the biggest threat to peace and stability in the South China Sea. The U.S. itself does not join the UNCLOS, but considers itself a judge of the convention, pointing fingers at other countries and interfering arbitrarily. It has no credibility on maritime issues. The United States' hype in the Security Council is entirely politically motivated. The South China Sea Arbitration Tribunal violated the principle of state consent and tried ultra vires. There was obvious errors in the determination of facts and application of the law, and its award was invalid and without any binding force.